All right, so welcome back. We're with Amy Colvin talking about different styles of meditation and compassionate, cultivating compassionate balance. And before the break, you were talking about some thought meditation and how it's a movement type of meditation. And Janet and I have a mutual friend that turned me on to Osho's dynamic meditation. Are you familiar with that?
I am not. I know the name Osho, and I have a
Okay,
set
so
of tarot cards that Osho put out, but I don't know that style of meditation.
this meditation style is unlike anything that I've ever experienced because it's like broken into 10 or 12 minute segments where like for the first 10 minutes you're like breathing heavy, and then the next 10 minutes you're like your body's like doing whatever it wants, and then another 10 minutes you're doing something else, and then the last 10 minutes you're just frozen in space basically, and you don't move. And I'd really like to get an idea of because here in the West, the type of meditation that we've been taught, and what's so difficult for me is to just sit and be quiet.
Yeah, sitting still.
Right?
Who can do that?
It's like you should meditate, and it's like, well, I try, but I suck at it, basically. So, what is the benefit of your program and the meditation style that you do versus what we normally equate to meditation, and the information that's supposed to come out of that and the benefits?
Well, one thing that jumps to mind immediately, and it goes back to what you were saying about it's hard to sit still and our minds are always busy. One of the nice things about moving is that it automatically begins to get your mind out of the way. It's really hard to be thinking about the fight you had with your friend or that thing you didn't do for work when you are moving. Especially if you're coming at that movement with the intention of, I'm letting my own internal wisdom guide that, instead of, okay, I'm going to stretch to the left, stretch to the right. So using that as a tool, using the movement as a tool to help settle the brain is a big piece. Mm-hmm. And again, you're asking me to contrast with other styles. Why is this different?
I mean, like, what are the benefits of because we kind of have an idea of what we've been told the benefits of meditation are. Right.
Okay. So this follows along with all of those, in the sense that it helps to reduce rumination. It helps to lower your blood pressure, all of those things that you would find that you would get with mindfulness-based stress reduction or any sort of mindfulness or Vipassana. All of those benefits are there as well. But what I really like about this style is that, to me at least, it's much easier to access because there is movement involved. I've always been a movement gal ever since I was a little kid. And for people who really resonate with stillness, this might be a little bit more of a challenge. But the benefits as well is that it just connects you to that internal wisdom a little bit more. And for me, I really feel like it gets you out of your head. All the other meditation that I've experienced, it's like, of course, we're humans. Thoughts come drifting by. So the way I look at it is just acknowledge that a thought drifted by and come back to the breath or come back to the movement. And that's not new, but I know that some forms of meditation say, okay, now let's label those thoughts. And it's like, I don't want to use my brain that much. Right. I want to get reconnected with my heart. It's like, oh, there's a thought. Okay, come back to the heart. Oh, there's another. Okay, come back to what's going on in the body. Mm-hmm. So for me, I find it to be a really nice and rich way to help get that mind to settle down.
Well, I feel like too that the body is inherently dynamic. It's in motion. Your heart is beating. Your lungs are expanding and contracting. I mean, I think to try to still yourself and to sit that way for 30 minutes or what have you goes against the natural way the body is. And then I think, too, when you're moving, you can get into the wisdom that is the body.
Yes, and that is absolutely true. I mean, in listening to what you just said, Roger, about the Osho meditation, it sounds very interesting, but it also sounds very structured, which is fine. There's benefit and value in structure. But there's also tremendous benefit, as Janet says, in just allowing the wisdom of your body to do what it needs to do. So, for example, years and years ago, before I became really dedicated to this practice, I would go to weekend meditation retreats, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. And the way those weekend retreats were set is that, part of the time Leong would lead us in meditation, and part of the time we would be working with our own internal energy. And during those sections, we'd be sitting around in a circle, and he would call people into the middle, and he would work with them individually in whatever way they needed to be worked with. And of course, like I said earlier, there's no huge explanation as to why. It's just like, have faith that this is the right thing. And for me, what always happened is I would end up doing somersaults. Forward, backwards, forwards, backwards. And like this went on for a couple of years, 2-3 years. And I finally said to him, I said, look, what is up with this? Every time I come see you and come meditate with you, my form of movement is these gosh darn somersaults. And he said, Amy, he said, you don't need to understand it. You just need to have faith that that's what your body needs right now. And eventually it will transform. And sure enough, it did. And it's, that's part of, as we cultivate, especially as we cultivate that relationship with our internal wisdom, things do begin to transform. I mean, it's so different now for me, even than it was a couple of years ago. That is the great thing about being human, is that we have the capacity to change. We have that capacity to grow. Yeah.
Yes, we do. So now you're doing backflips instead of somersaults?
Yes, sometimes. No.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Or, I watched this video the other day about this young girl who, how when they have the gymnastics, what is it, the Olympics and things like that, and the world whatevers. Well, the music is usually like ballet music or very gentle music. Well, this girl keeps winning awards because she's doing hip hop to gymnastics. And I mean, she's a UCLA student, and she is huge on YouTube. So, Google hip hop gymnast, and she's like breaking all these barriers. And I think that's what I hear you saying here, is that so long, Amy, we kind of thought, that there should be, that meditation is quiet, right, and that you sit still and you don't move, and that then you could, and if you couldn't do that somehow, that you felt wrong. Like I felt like I always wanted to move, and therefore I was doing meditation incorrectly because I was wanting to move. So we're breaking some barriers here, it sounds like.
Yeah, and that is the coolest thing about it. And what I find in the classes that I teach is that as soon as I begin to introduce the movement component, everybody really, really likes it. Yeah. Now, of course, the people that are attracted to the classes that I'm teaching are attracted to something they've read about me or the way I teach and so on and so forth. So it's not that surprising, but it's very refreshing to be in, in an 8-week course and bring in some of this movement, and people go, that's my favorite part. Can we do more of that? And that's part of why I have really begun to diverge from the Stanford curriculum, is that I'm teaching to what I hear my students want. They want more of the movement. They all absolutely love the mudra meditation. And there's a tremendous level of richness in that, because I think by nature, we do want to move. And then also, for anybody who's out there listening, from my perspective, as long as you connect with your heart and you find peace within and begin to extend it outward, that's a form of meditation. And there are so many ways to get to that. Do I think that rock climbing is meditation? Do I think that trail running is meditation? Not necessarily, because you have to be strategic in your thought process. If you're climbing, you have to think about where your next hand is going, where your next foot is going. So it may be meditative, it may be relaxing, it may be calming to the mind, but I wouldn't consider it meditation per se, because you have to be strategically thinking of the next thing. something like walking, where you don't have to worry about where you're going, or maybe something like swimming could count as meditation.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you know, dance can be a form of meditation. But really, it's about, from my perspective, it's about connecting to that divine within, and just getting out of the head and getting into the heart. And the other thing, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you, is that what you call the internal energy?
Well,
I noticed that.
Yeah, the internal energy is more, it's more that whole sense of chi. Like from the traditional Chinese perspective, you know, we all are energetic beings, and chi is that vital life force. So that's what I mean by internal energy.
Okay. Good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. We need to take a break right now, and when we come back, I want to talk about cultivating internal energy.
Okay, great.
So we'll be right back.